Hello and welcome to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox. Today, we're going to talk about something a little bit tangential to the Green New Deal, but it does pertain. As you know, the Green New Deal is an intersectional document that talks about a lot of different things. And it talks specifically about the health of the planet. It also talks a lot about justice. In today's episode, we're going to talk about something that's probably going to make you mad when you hear about it. So just a warning. Not that everything on this show doesn't make you mad at some point or another, the destruction of the planet, the changing climate, the oil companies, the rapaciousness of their politics. Those things should make you mad. But this is on a level of injustice. It's in a different way. A lot of people talk about how Medicare for all has to be a part of the Green New Deal. Because it will be, if we have Medicare for all, universal health care, then people who are installing all those solar panels and wind turbines will be covered as they go from state to state and job to job. And that is a fundamental part of the intersectional call to justice of the Green New Deal. But a lot of people right now have health care through their employer, and a lot of people have health care through their unions. I do, as a member of the DGA, the Directors Guild of America. The Directors Union, I get health care through the DGA. And a lot of actors get healthcare through SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, which is a kind of union for actors that protects actors from rapacious politics in Hollywood. But something has just happened, which we have to address. The Screen Actors Guild has saw fit to change their policies and throw off all of these senior citizen actors who are retired, who've been paying into the system for their entire lives, right? Their entire careers, off of their health insurance. And I found out about this through one of my very great friends and a mentor of mine, a person who I would not be the same person without, a person who has really put my noodle together 50,000 times, who's helped me in 1,000 ways. And her name is Susan Barnes. You might remember Susan Barnes as, I think, Squiggy's girlfriend on Laverne and Shirley, or you might remember Susan Barnes from her role in They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper, or you might remember Susan Barnes as the woman with the metal hand from Repo Man. She's also an incredible anti-fracking activist, and she's a senior citizen, and she's being thrown off her health insurance by the Screen Actors Guild, by SAG. And so we have assembled an incredible panel tonight, including Matthew Modine, who's one of my favorite actors in the entire universe ever since I saw the movie Birdie, Full Metal Jacket, Shortcuts, 1,000 Amazing Roles. Frances Fisher, who's another one of my favorite humans and performers and incredible actor and activist. And David Jolliffe, also board member from SAG. So we're going to talk about this tonight because this shows how because not every actor, right, is a famous, rich person. In fact, most actors are journeyman actors who subsist off of a role here and there, and then they make enough money to make a living. And then these are a lot of people who you know, who you have seen, who you love, but they're not millionaires. They're middle class, or and they need health insurance. And when these people have been paying into a system for years and years and years and years, and then that system, because of one horrific, rapacious board decision or whatever it is, we're going to find out, decides that you no longer meet the threshold and we're going to throw you off your health insurance in the middle of a pandemic. That's what's happening right now. And we're going to talk about it with an amazing group of people: David Jolliffe, Frances Fisher, and Matthew Modine. Okay, so this is obviously a very personal issue, and healthcare pertains to the Green New Deal. Healthcare pertains to the health of our citizens and our nation. And if people have healthcare, they're able to live. And if they have healthcare, they're able to do things like become an activist. So Frances, why don't we start with you, since Frances, you and I have done so many things together, from campaigning on the climate, campaigning for Bernie Sanders, campaigning for environmental justice, and so many other kinds of things. But let me just welcome everybody. Thank you, David, Matthew, and Frances, for being here. Let's start with you, Frances. Give us a little bit of an overview of what's happening with SAG-AFTRA, the actors' unions for film and television, and that they are unbelievably throwing older actors off of their health insurance. Let's talk about it. Tell us the situation.
7,750 we've calculated so far are going to lose their secondary health care if they don't make $25,950 a year or work 100 days. Now, this happened on August 12th. We were shocked when we received an email from our guild that said that there were changes to the SAG-AFTRA health plan, which is a separate legal entity from our union, even
Right.
though we are inextricably bound. They changed the qualifications. They changed. There's one issue here that is so infuriating. I'll give you just an example. As you know, actors live off of their residuals because none of us have a steady job unless we're,
Right.
really high up on the food chain. Most people live on their residuals.
So just explain to people what residuals are. Residuals are the check that will come if your show, like let's say you were on Laverne and Shirley or whatever, and it's in syndication now. So the reruns are playing. Every time that thing is rerunning on a TV show or on the internet or whatever, the actors in it get paid again as if they just performed again. Isn't that right?
You get a bigger check, when something reruns the first time, and then it's a descending scale.
Right.
But all of those checks add up. You cobble it together and you realize, oh, I made my health care this year. I personally have not worked in a year because 7 months of it has been pandemic time.
Right.
And who knows when we're going to get out of it. But I didn't work, in the fall because I had COVID. But I didn't know it because it wasn't famous then. Anyway, the point is, I found out when we were hit with these changes to the healthcare plan, I went to SAG-AFTRAplans.org and found out that I had qualified enough on my residuals alone to make my healthcare for next year. But what's happening is that because I'm retired, right, and I'm taking a pension, next year, my residuals will not count as earnings. So I have to actually go out and get a job in order
even though you're retired. And even though you've been paying into the system. I'm just saying, though, there are not necessarily your situation, but other actors who actually have retired, right? Who don't act anymore, who don't live in Hollywood anymore, who don't live in New York anymore, right? Mm-hmm. They have retired and they can't, they are being thrown off their health insurance because of this change. Now, let me ask somebody else on the panel to chime in. Who made this change and how did this happen?
David?
Well, the change was made by the trustees. There are 40 of them, 20 union side trustees and 20 management side trustees. And they have decided in the middle of a pandemic, with reserves still in the coffers to get us through these kinds of emergencies, to throw 8,200 people, 8,200 seniors off of their secondary health insurance. I'll explain that very quickly. That's where if you've been a member of SAG-AFTRA for over 20 years and contributed enough to be vested, have 20 years vested, which means you've been a career performer, because to get a vesting credit, you need to have substantial earnings.
Yeah.
People plan their retirement on that after 65, that the benefit of having secondary insurance would be there. That's been taken away. They're saying it was never promised. Well, everything in a health plan is not promised. They can change it at any time. But when you have a benefit that's been in place for decades and people are counting on it, you need to do everything you can to preserve that. We can get into later on how they could have and didn't. Yeah. Also, 2,900 Plan 2 people. Those are people who don't earn as much as others who can get a top tier plan, but at least they get some kind of health coverage. 2,900 of them are going to lose their health insurance. And also something that SAG did, which was, and AFTRA didn't, but SAG did, which was extremely thoughtful and benevolent to performers over 40, especially women over 40, who age out, but have had good careers. If you had over 10 years of service credited as vested credits, and made a certain amount of money, a lesser amount of money, $13,000 or $14,000, you could qualify for insurance at that lower rate. And there are about 650 of those. Those people are all going to lose.
So these are like a lot. This is a huge pool of actors, right? This is thousands of people. Let me just say, you're tuned in to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox. We'll be right back. You're tuned in to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox. My guests are Francis Fisher, Matthew Modine, David Jolliffe. We're talking about health insurance. We're talking about SAG throwing people off of health insurance in the middle of a pandemic. Matthew, let me ask you, so talk about some of the efforts that are being made right now to try to rectify the situation. And has there been an outcry among people who are not necessarily in this position, right? For the benefit of their co-stars. Everybody who's ever been in a play or ever been in a movie knows that ensemble, it doesn't matter if you're the A-lister or if you're the first star, everybody in there is a community, everybody in there is a family, everybody in there cares for each other. Talk about the way the community has responded.
Well, this is the embarrassing thing, that if you took your SAG card out, if David took his out, if Frances took hers out, and if I took mine out and we showed them, you'd see that they're all the same size, the same dimension, the same thickness. And it doesn't matter where you appear on a call sheet, that as far as the union's concerned, we're all equal. That's one of the beautiful things about a union is that there's a solidarity amongst the members, that when you pay your initiation fee and join that union, that we're all in it together. Right. That anybody who's ever taken an acting class, one of the first exercises that you do are those trust exercises where you fall into one another's arms, because how important it is to know that if you're doing a play, that you can fall into your partner's arms and they'll catch you. That if you go up on your lines when you're doing a scene, that they'll cover for you and help you to get through that and get back on track. That's what we do. And we're not great businessmen, you know. I mean, David Jolliffe and Frances are brilliant at the intricacies of and functioning of a union. But I think that one of the most important things about a union is that it's there to protect you. And here we've arrived at this time where those people that we look to make sure that the members are protected, that they feel safe on film sets, that their health care and their pension are secure, and that the things that you contribute to over the span of your career is going to be there for you in your golden years. And here we are about to throw 12,000 members off of the healthcare in their most vulnerable years.
This is anathema to the very idea of people taking care of each other. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a third of the participants are going to lose their health coverage.
A third of the actors in SAG. Now, let me just explain.
Not a third of the actors in SAG, a third of the active participants.
Of the active people in the health plan, right? Let me just explain this for people. So back when I used to be an actor, which was a very, very, very long time ago, in 2002, I actually got a Levi's commercial for Levi's jeans, and I was playing a one-man band. I played the banjo, and I had the drum, and I had a thing, and I had a thing on my head, and I was so excited because they paid me $500 to be in the shoot, and I made nearly $9,000 after that in just the residuals, right? So the residuals is a huge piece of this. And the threshold at the time for getting health insurance, basic health insurance, was like 10 grand. Now, 9/11 happened, and it knocked my commercial off the air. And I was just short of that threshold to get this health insurance. It was one of those moments. But when you're a young actor, and when you're trying, and you're working your ass off to get every single possible little crumb of a job of a thing, and you think you could get health insurance, it is like this. It's the holy grail. It's the moment you feel like you've made it. It's the moment you feel like, oh my God, I'm actually not a starving actor anymore. I'm legit. I'm legit. And now, decades later, after people who have been doing this forever, now the corporation's going to say, what does that do to the very idea of a union? I mean, any of you can talk about this, because union is one of those things that actors really, it's so hard to just get into the union in the first place. Talk about what does this do psychologically, mentally to this call, this togetherness, this community of a union.
Well, I remember when I was in my 20s and I joined AFTRA, she's my parent union, and then I joined SAG the next year. I remember being told by, when I was signing up, I remember being told by a staff member that, you know, your career could go up and down. You may have a good year and you may have a bad year.
Very
but
true.
If you have enough, if you're vested, I went, what's vested me? I didn't know anything. I was in my 20s. That you can have health care for life. We've got the best health care plan. And I remember it just stuck in my head because I thought, I'm 20, I'm going to live forever. But you know what? Now I'm 68. I depend on my health care. And the fact that Every single actor we have spoken to, you said, what was the outcry on this? 2 days after August 12th and August 14th, we held a Zoom meeting across the country, and we made it open because we were scrambling so fast just to get it out there. We were on social media, inviting everyone to come to this Zoom meeting. It was a town hall that was supposed to last 3 hours. It lasted 8. We listened to people from across the country. Such sad, scary stories. And it's not just elders. It's young people. It's a young gal who has 2 little kids who needed $1,000 more to qualify this year for her health plan. And she's scared, first of all, during a pandemic, where's she going to get a job? And she's scared to go out because she doesn't want to catch COVID and bring it back to her children. So she's stuck. And she's like in her 30s. You know,
every year I have to do the math as a director in the DGA, in the Directors Guild, about whether or not I'm going to make that threshold to make the insurance. And if I don't, guess what? It costs me $800 a month or something crazy like that. And so talk a little bit about, you know, I guess this moment of politics. Like, this is a conversation about a union. What is the union for actors? Anybody can chime in. I mean, obviously, there's so much money that changes hands. But there's something else fundamental. Talk about what the union does to protect you guys as actors.
David?
You want to answer, David?
Matthew's very good at this.
Okay.
Matthew's very good.
I don't know. When you think of the history of the union and, you know, going all the way back to the beginning, when Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks created United Artists, because it was a period of time when we were traded like baseball cards, that we really didn't have a choice as to what films we were going to work on. And then there was this group of actors who said, you know what, I'm going to make my own studio and I'm going to make decisions for myself and take control of my life. I'm not going to, you know, just be something that you trade. And I think, I believe that was the inspiration for the Screen Actors Guild, that to be able to create an environment where people could join this guild and contribute to create a health and pension plan. And if somebody got hurt on a film set, let's say it was an old, you know, cowboy stunt person got a broken arm and maybe he wasn't going to be able to work anymore, that there'd be a union that would be able to take care of that person and to look out after those people. And over time that grew into residuals, and you know, so that we could participate in the success of the work that we participated in. And you know, I was talking to my daughter about this tonight, and I feel like that somehow it's my responsibility that as a grown-up that things are failing, you know, with our government, you know, the behavior of those people who are supposed to, when you were young, you looked up to older people and said, well, those people, no, those people, they're moral, and, you know, maybe they made mistakes in the past, but they're working to make civilization and humanity better. And that's what we want to believe that a union is doing for its members, that it's working to make the working conditions safer, to make sure that those hard-fought victories from the past that I have benefited from, that David has benefited from, that Francis, that those things that they fought for so hard, that you want to make sure that those are handed down to the next generation of young actors.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect.
Just like, because I know you're an environmentalist, and Francis and David and we all share a passion for leaving the world a better place than what we came into. Right. And it's our responsibility to do that, to make sure that, you know, as they say, you don't plant trees for yourself, you plant them for your grandchildren. Right. And
I mean, you would expect the union to do the opposite, right? At a time when all actors are out of work, right? I know, look, this show, Staying Home with Josh Fox, which is about environmentalism, started because I was on tour with my one-man show, The Truth Has Changed, right here, which Francis has seen. When I did it in LA.
It's so good.
I was on tour in Miami, and boom, shut down completely. The whole 2-week gig and all of my gigs shut down. All of my tour canceled, right? So I said, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to go home and I'm going to start this show, right? And I started interviewing my friends, and then it got picked up by TYT and so forth. But the idea that, like, at a moment when all actors are in trouble, right? We can't go on stage. We can't necessarily, you can't like walk into a scene and do a love scene if you don't know what the COVID protocols are. You know, talk about like, first of all, I have to say you're tuned in to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal, and we'll be right back. You're tuned in to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. We're talking about the Screen Actors Guild and health insurance with Francis Fisher, Matthew Modine, and David Jolliffe. Talk about, like, what did you expect the union to do to help in a situation of a pandemic, as opposed to what do you want to see the union do in terms of like how to keep actors safe from the coronavirus, how to keep actors going at this moment of incredible downturn in all of your employment?
Well, what we expected was for our union and our health and pension plan to be there and to be safe and secure. The three of us are all national board members of SAG-AFTRA. Francis and I are officers, the vice presidents of the Los Angeles local. None of us knew that this was coming. And I'm a negotiating committee member. I didn't know this was coming. And as a negotiating committee member, I'm upset that the negotiations that I took part in could have directed more money into this health plan to help mitigate this, and no one said a word to me. So I am concerned about that. I want to touch on a couple things if I can, Josh. You know, Matthew was talking about the legacy we need to preserve and how we stand on the shoulders of giants. It was those actors, the Mickey Rooneys and the like, who made films up until 1960. They sacrificed, they gave away, and many of them begrudgingly, they gave away all residuals on their films prior to 1960 in order to put together a health and pension plan.
Wow.
That was an amazing sacrifice. And the studios benefited greatly. But the trade was, the studios will start a pension and health plan for you. It's very important to know that over those last now 60 years that the plans have been in effect, actors, performers have sacrificed wage increases, working conditions, all at the bargaining table in order to continue to drive more money into those health and pension plans. But the plans are funded by the contributions that are negotiated over the bargaining table. So that's important, and I wanted you to know, and your audience, that as a negotiating committee member, I had no idea that the plan was in that peril.
That's amazing.
The second thing I wanted to address was age discrimination. I want to read you something from the pamphlet that the trustees sent out. And in the back of the pamphlet, it has something called Section 1557, age discrimination, non-discrimination notice. Here's just one quick sentence. The SAG-AFTRA health plan does not exclude people or treat them differently because of race, color, national origin, age, disability, or sex. Well, they absolutely are now starting to treat people over 65 taking a pension differently because they're not going to count their residuals as earnings to qualify for health coverage. Even though those residual earnings have the same exact contribution made on them as if it was a session where you're going to work. Them taking that money and not giving you credit for it, we have one word for that. It's called stealing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's how I was described the situation by my friend Susan Barnes, who's this amazing actor out in Pittsburgh, was saying, I paid into this system my whole life. Now, where's my money?
Well, you know, up on the SOS healthplan.com website, we have David Landers up there. You talked about Squiggy, Lenny. David, has public health issues and is depending on that secondary health coverage. That's now gone.
Wow. So why do you think this is happening? Anyone can chime in. Why do you think this is happening now? Like, this seems so over the top cruel.
It doesn't make any
why now?
Josh, it doesn't make any sense to us. I'll let Francis.
Well, it doesn't make sense, but what do you think? Really, what do you think? Why is it happening now?
Well, Francis.
I think there's a virus inside our union. I honestly do. Because in the webinars, they've done, I think, 6 or 7 now, these SAG-AFTRA health plan webinars, where 2 former presidents of SAG would say, well, it was never promised to you, but the hue and cry from every member, as I said before, we were promised. This comes out spontaneously from everyone's hearts and souls. We were promised health care for life.
It's important, Josh. It's important, Josh, to know that the plan protects itself legally by saying that any of these benefits are not guaranteed. But here's the problem. The problem is that you had a benefit that was in place for decades at the Screen Actors Guild, which was this senior coverage.
Right.
People planned their retirements around it.
Well, but we're also seeing this in other sectors, right? People throwing off their pensions, people throwing off their health care in the auto industry, for example, right? This is endemic to a system in America right now that is being corporatized, right? We're seeing unions being taken over. What are some of the other reasons why Americans who are not actors should care about this, right? What are the bigger lessons here?
Well, I don't know if this is a big lesson, but during this pandemic, which has gone on for 7 months now, what are most people doing? They're watching us on television.
They're watching you on TV, right?
So why should they care? We're entertaining them. We're informing them.
Beyond caring about you, though, like what about the principles that are involved here? Because obviously everybody should care. Everybody in the universe should care about Francis Fisher.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that carte blanche, right? No question. And about actors. But in terms of the bigger issue.
I'm going to go into the weeds right now because I think that there's something really bad going on in our union, and not just this union, anywhere. You can see it in the country, what's going on there.
Okay.
2 years, they knew that this was happening. I heard it out of Richard Masser's mouth. He says, we've been working on this for 2 years. Well, then why did you do it now during a pandemic? We had 3 contracts that we could have negotiated and put more money into the health plan. But as David said, the people who are not on in the pension plan, the trustees, who are also on the negotiating committee, by the way, they didn't tell the people who aren't in the union, aren't union. They didn't tell them, people like David, that we were in so much trouble. They could have negotiated more money to go into the commercials contract, into the Netflix contract, and this latest one, the TV theatrical contract.
Right.
There was no wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey guys, we better put more money into the health plan. None of that was said. They had
none of it. It was hidden from you. Matthew, you talked about trust, and I think that it's such a beautiful thing to bring up. That a lot of people who are not actors don't understand this. That what you are evoking there, the basic trust between the different people in the ensemble, and it is a trust that we have in this idea of America, right? I mean, is this one of those pillars of American society that we have trust in a union, that we have trust in our coworkers, that we have trust in the people that have said something to us, and now that is being betrayed? Can you expand upon that, Matthew, for any of you?
Yeah, I started to talk about it when I was explaining to my daughter that I felt that I had failed somehow as an adult, that it's our responsibility as the grown-ups in the room now that have replaced those people who came before us to be the people that you look to for morality and transparency. And, of course we make mistakes along the way, and we try to be better. We try to move civilization forward. We try to be more humane and put more humanity and to be more humane is what I'm trying to say. And so we know that there are people that are trying to destroy unions in the United States. But we never imagine that it's people from within our own union that are trying to destroy the union. And it's that lack of transparency and morality within the Screen Actors Guild that I think is now becoming the undoing of the Screen Actors SAG-AFTRA. And it's unfortunate, but
what are the things that you think are coming next? And how can people participate in this struggle?
Well, I'm in New York City right now, and after those buildings came down and the dust started to settle, people began to ask questions like, how could something like this happen? How could that? And you realize that when you live in a free and democratic city and a society, that you have a responsibility to participate in the running of that democracy. And it's the same thing of this union, that in the last election, David can tell you the exact number, but it was some in the low 20% of the members of 160,000 members that participated in the election process. And, you know, and many of those same people now are complaining and saying, why is this happening? And it's because you don't participate in the union. This was always a union that was ran by the members, and it's now a union that's run by the staff. And that's, you know,
so it's about participation. What are some of the lessons to learn in this moment of an election in the United States as a much larger question? Let me just say, you're tuned in to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox. We'll be right back. You're tuned in to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox. We're talking about unions with Francis Fisher, Matthew Modine, and David Jolliffe. What are some of the bigger issues that are at play here for the rest of America as the last question that we have for tonight?
Matthew said it. Pay attention. Get involved. You know, don't count on others to take care of you. Collectively take care of yourselves. This is what the lesson we've all learned and we are learning right now.
Can this be stopped? Can this be reversed?
It can. There are ways I don't need to get into now, but yes, there are, when it comes to the health plan, they have said publicly there are reserves to get us through 2024. That's 3 or 4 more years. Why they have to get immediately into the black. We needed to look at, listen, Josh, you're a member of the DGA. Have you gotten any notes from the DGA saying that your plan is?
I'm a little worried about it, to be honest. I got to figure it out.
Have they sent any signals that this kind of thing is happening there?
You know, what's so interesting about all of this with private health insurance is it's like it's separate from the DGA. It's a separate corporation. I have to jump through all of these hoops. Every single year I have to demonstrate it, and it's a 3-month lag. So there's always a chance that there's like a 3-month period of time when I'm not going to have health insurance, and something really bad could happen in that window of time, and then you're screwed. It's not, personally, I would like to just say, we need Medicare for all. We need healthcare from the union that is the United States of America. We don't want to be, this is ridiculous that we should be doing this, that this system is even in place at the moment, right? Where we can be screwed out of our health insurance by this. And by the basic care that should be afforded us as citizens, right? But I think so far I haven't heard anything from DGA. That's the bottom line, the answer to your question. No.
Well, again, the lesson is, pick leaders that are going to lead in your interest, not in a self-interested way, who are truthful and transparent. I'm not saying that people aren't. I don't want to make that claim. I'm just saying that that's something that needs to be part of your leadership, and you have to stay involved, or you're going to get surprised every single time. If you just sit back and say, Mommy, Daddy, take care, you're going to get eventually burned. And that's my message to everybody. Pay attention.
Any final words of inspiration there, Francis or Matthew?
That's what's happening in our country, right? I mean, the get out the vote. Millions of people are early voting for the first time ever. It's amazing. I don't know how they're voting, but people are they're getting activated. But look at all the stuff going on social media, and if I get one more toolkit, I'm going to shoot myself. But that's what we have to do right now. And the same thing for our union. We have an election coming up next year. And if people are involved and engaged, they will read where the people who are running stand, and they will be able to make a decision, because this way is not working.
And Josh, I'd just like to say, to Francis and David Jolliffe, as co-vice presidents of the Los Angeles local, these are two people who have been working for the union for so many years, and they understand that this is a responsibility. It's not a role that they're playing. These are not paid positions. And I wish that our union had a president who understood the intricacies of running a union as Francis and David both do. That they're great mentors of mine, great teachers of mine, and so I just want to say thank you to both of them for their long service to the union.
That's a great way to end. We all are in such a debt of gratitude to actors who show us, who model life on the planet, who tell us what it is to be alive. Thank you so much for all your work. You're all so incredibly inspiring to me. And there is power in a union if the union doesn't screw you over. So let's make sure that we make sure that we put that pressure on and support unions and support healthcare for all people in America. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we'll see you next time. You got it, Francis. Bring us home.
Just if any SAG-AFTRA member is listening to this, go to our website, sosHealthPlan.com. sosHealthPlan.com. Okay. David, Francis, Matthew, you guys are heroic figures. Thank you so much for the years of inspiration. And we'll see you whenever we all get back to work. Let's hope it's soon.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks again. All right. Cheers. So grateful for this discussion with Francis Fisher, Matthew Modine, and David Jolliffe. We're going to look at some of the videos here from SOS Health Plan. Remember, SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, is throwing senior citizen actors off of their health care in the middle of a pandemic. Let's watch some of these videos.
Hi, I'm Billy Vera, and I've been a SAG-AFTRA member since 1967. My parents, both of them, were members since the 1940s, and not one of us in my family has ever taken a non-union job. We've been loyal to our union, loyal to our sisters and brothers in SAG-AFTRA. And now we've all been betrayed. Almost 12,000 of us have been betrayed by our union. As of January 1st, seniors will no longer have health care. Health care that was promised to us. Here's another example. My father's widow, 90 years old. He took early retirement so that she would be taken care of for the remainder of her life after his passing. Guess what? Sorry, stepmom. You're on your own. Thank you, SAG. Thank you, AFTRA.
My name is Wendy Oates DeVore. I have been a member of the Screen Actors Guild as well as AFTRA since I was in my 20s. I am now 72 years old. I cannot imagine that at this age and at this stage, I have suddenly been given information that I will no longer be insured through the Screen Actors Guild after December 31st. I think that this is an awful thing for all of us, and I object to it and am wishing to participate in protesting it in any way possible. It includes my medications, it includes my doctor's hospital visits, it includes everything, dental, vision, the things that you would not expect at this age to suddenly have to go out and find when I've been paying all of these years and been provided for. And I really, really wish we would all stand up together and let whoever it is we need to know that we object and we want better. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rick Overton, and here's a joke you probably haven't heard. Thousands of senior SAG and AFTRA members walk into a bar. The bartender says, "What can I collectively get you all?" And they say, "We'll have that health care we were promised." And the bartender says, "Okay, that'll be $25,950 each." Each! And it won't include residuals. Not include residuals? Well, that screws us completely. And the bartender says, "Well, why don't you just work 100 days in the cycle? It's only 16 more than the original." "But it's during a pandemic. How are we supposed to do that?" And the bartender says, "Well, that's not really my job. I'm just here to get a little extra money because times are tough right now, you know." It's not really a very funny joke, is it?
Hi, Sam N. Hawkins, SAG-AFTRA member. On September 30th, 2020, I will be losing my health insurance. Thanks to our union leader and trustees of SAG-AFTRA, who decided it was best to change the qualifications during the pandemic. For someone like me who takes life-saving medicine and depends on my health insurance, now becomes a race of time to find a solution. This doesn't just affect me, but it affects thousands of other members. This was unfair. We were blindsided. Therefore, we need new leadership.
I'm Madeline Fisher, SAG-AFTRA member in good standing since 1967. Status retired, reality work for senior citizens barely exists. In younger productive years, I worked in commercials and television, earning promised health insurance for life and my pension. Timing is everything. In a time of pandemic and America and healthcare crisis, trustees of our union's health plan decided to terminate my peers and my health insurance. Time allotted for searching for replacement, short, chaotic. I have preconditions. At my age, that doesn't make me an oddity, but a medical commodity. Affordable quality healthcare to supplement Medicare is hard to find, elevating anxiety and stress complicating these preconditions. One being a rare autoimmune eye disease causing blindness. They betrayed us. There appears to be malfeasance regarding plans' financial stability alongside other suspected illegalities. To those responsible, we're in this fight for our life and demand what we were promised and what we paid into. Trust has dissolved into anger. We're formidable when angered. We're united in taking action against this betrayal. There's no hiding in bunkers. No hiding at all.
What will we do? I ask you, SAG-AFTRA members that are actors and actresses and dancers and stuntmen and background artists, actors and actresses at my level and well above. What will we do for the seniors that have been working for 20 years who are going to lose their health plan? So let me get this straight. We are willing to fight for a better health plan for our country, but not for our fellow actors and actresses. I don't believe that that's true. I can't believe that that's true. We need to do something. And I know you're with me. We need to do something.
Thank you so much for being with us. This is Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox. Remember, fight for the Green New Deal, fight for the environment, fight for Medicare for all, and fight for unions that are not being taken over by major corporations. We have to fight for the sanctity of our unions. Our unions have to fight for us. We'll see you next time. Thanks.